The reality of work-life balance in law. Is 4-hour work week possible? Like, what do you want out of life? Is it money? Is it time? Is it freedom? Is it prestige? And guess what? Nobody cares as much as you. Neil, is there such a thing as work-life balance in law?
I don't think there is unless you make a concerted effort to manage that relationship. It doesn't come automatically. You have to, first off, manage your own expectations and then deliver based on the reality of the situation.
Yeah, and it comes down to, I think, like, what do you want out of life? Is it money? Is it time? Is it freedom? Is it prestige? Is it reputation? What is it for you that trumps everything else? From what I've seen from a lot of lawyers, I think it comes down to freedom of time, freedom of control, freedom of being your own boss. That really trumps everything else. Money is nice. Everything else is nice. Reputation is nice, but nothing trumps having control of your life.
And the irony of that is that without a proper work-life balance, you don't have that freedom. You're not in control.
Yeah, so let's start off with there. And let's try to create some triggers or some pointers about how this could be achievable. For me, my exposure to this whole world of work-life balance was from Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek book. And the title of the book is 4-Hour Workweek. But a lot of the principles and things that were shared, I realized that is 4-hour workweek possible? And the principles that was shared is, I feel like it gets you close to 4 hours, but I think it could also be somewhat of a pipe dream, unless if you have the right mindset to continue chipping away until you get there. So I think it comes down to setting boundaries, first of all. Setting boundaries. You're the boss of your own life. Your clients and your prospects don't dictate your schedule. They don't dictate the expectations of you. Ultimately, it's that belief that we're in control. It starts off with that mindset. And then second is being very focused on your schedule and being very cutthroat with your schedule. And don't just letting anybody get access to be able to control your schedule. So when it comes to prospects, having a time restraints when you should be able to speak to prospects. If you have clients, maybe not having direct contact with their clients creates some barriers between you and your clients. It just really comes down to healthy boundaries, establishing that and creating those infrastructure around you to make that possible.
Just a couple of real world practical examples of that. So for instance, don't have your cell phone, your personal cell phone, don't let that be available to your clients. You need to have a separate, but you can't have clients feeling that they can call you on your cell phone 24 hours a day, because that's exactly what they'll do. And for me personally, I don't even answer my work phone anymore. That goes through a receptionist, and I only address those calls at very specific times, scheduled times that we talked about a couple episodes ago. So I think you want to make sure that you maintain control over your phone. And similarly with email, I think one of the big challenges, again, me personally as a solo practitioner, I may choose not to work during the day and feel like I want to work in the evening. Okay, that's fine. That's my choice. But don't send emails out after hours. Schedule them to be delivered the following morning at 9 a.m. Because if you start sending emails after hours, your clients are going to start feeling that they can access you or take advantage of you after hours. An example of setting the priorities and using the technology to establish those boundaries between work and personal life.
Yeah, and everybody has priorities, but I think it just comes down to prioritizing your priorities and leading with that. If it's a priority, then start off your day with that. A lot of people leave the business development, the things that are the money makers, till later in the day, hiring after 12 o'clock. No, if it's that important for you and your life, put that foremost in your day and prioritize that. And once you do that, you get that out of the way, it builds a momentum for the rest of your day versus leaving at the end. It's just like, let me get to it when I get to it.
And you mentioned scheduling regular breaks and vacations to recharge. I guess that's another thing that we as attorneys do because of the long hours and the high stress that we have in the job. We frequently say, well, I'll take a break or I'll take a vacation when things slow down. And the reality is they never slow down. So you have to be able to put breaks, either a daily break or a weekly break or a vacation break, and put them on your calendar and lock them in so that they can't be changed. and make sure you take advantage of them. I set a boundary that I wasn't going to work on Fridays. I wanted to leave my calendar completely open on Fridays. Forces me to do more than Monday through Thursday, but I want the Fridays to be flexible for me. So I think that's something that you need to do. You need to make it a regular practice to schedule breaks and vacations and make sure you take advantage of them.
And don't be afraid to maybe take vacations throughout the day. A lot of people just work.
Yeah.
They have the seasons of work, and then they have 1 or 2 weeks off or they're completely off. But what I like doing is incorporating the breaks throughout the day, throughout the week, randomly, spontaneously, so that I don't necessarily have to just look forward to that one big vacation. I want to take a day off on a Monday, could do that easily. It is completely possible.
And I think it's important to ask yourself this question. If you can't step away from your practice for a full day, if you practice can't operate without you having hands-on responsibilities for at least 24 hours and preferably more, then you're never going to be free to establish that work-life balance. And as we're going to talk about in a couple of other these points here coming up, you have to be able to delegate tasks and have systems in place such that your practice operates and continues to run when you're not there.
Great point. Until you have that, you're a prisoner of your own business, which is the worst place to be. All right, let's go to point number 2.
Absolutely.
And that is the false hope for passive income or passive business. Again, it's one of those things, those principles that everybody talks about. But is there such a thing as a passive income, Neil?
I don't think there is, okay? You can be earning money passively. In other words, your clients can be paying their bills without your direct intervention. But to say that you can set up the system such that you can sit on the beach and drink Mai Tais and pina coladas all afternoon and still be making money, that's a desirable goal. But I don't think you can ever get to the point where your law firm is truly a passive income machine. Think, especially with practice of law. And depending on your practice area, that may be even more true than other areas. For instance, estate planning, you might have a better chance at that. Criminal law, that's almost impossible to set up a truly passive law practice.
I agree with that. Essentially, I think my mindset is passive income takes a lot of active work to make it happen.
Yeah.
It takes years to be able to build the team, the infrastructure, the tracking and backend, the marketing, the client support, all that stuff. And even then, when you create it, unless you have an amazing COO, CEO, director who is managing the day-to-day, even then, there are still things that are going to come up almost every single day, at least on a weekly basis, of different fires happening, in different issues. Somebody has to watch it. And guess what? Nobody cares as much as you. So even when you have the COO or the CEO, you still have to be somewhat engaged, caring, check in, nudge people along, but completely checking out and just expecting people to take care of things for you is a pipe dream, and it doesn't work that way.
Some areas of your workflow can be managed passively, but I think you, with the work that you do in Lawyers Club and My Legal Academy, clearly demonstrate that acquiring new leads can be set up in such a way that once it's set up, you let it run and those leads come in. So to a degree, that becomes a passive activity, but you have to monitor it. And somebody has to pay attention that it's continuing to produce in the way that you want it to be productive. So it's not entirely passive, but it's more passive than, say, some other areas. Billing, for instance, and find that if you're going to billing your clients, that's actively engaging. I'm not sure that we'll ever get to a point where that's passively done. Now, you can delegate that responsibility and you can set up systems to leverage the process, but you're always, as you said, you're going to need to be included or involved at some level. It's never going to be truly passive. So the whole concept of having a passive income generated from your law firm, I think that's a little extreme.
Yeah, and I think passive income is created when you create leverage in your law firm. So whether the leverage is your team or your marketing or automations, once you set up those systems, the leverage creates those passive work that is being done for you when you're not the bottleneck of that part of your operation. But again, still requires some management to make sure that those leverages are being done effectively and being managed well by people who are managers. And you still, again, all managers need managers. So there's no such thing as everybody just check out and do whatever you want. But if passive income is the goal, then I think you have to actively work in your business. That becomes your cash flow, and then look for other passive ways to be able to have your money make money for you. And that's what I think I've been more interested in the last couple of years. First 6 to 7 years was all about learning the art and the game of making money. But the second game is completely different game, different rules, its own limitations, its own understanding is your money making money for you. That comes into the realm of real estate and stocks and crypto and other investment opportunities. And that's something that I think I'm super intrigued and interested about, and to do an episode about that. What is working right now when it comes to passive investments, passive incomes, or things like that that's working right now?
I have to admit that I'm still unclear about crypto. And I know that it's one of those things that I have lots of entrepreneurial friends who are doing just that. They're turning around their income from their businesses and then investing it in a way that it becomes a secondary passive income stream. And cryptocurrency is a large part of their portfolio. And I have to admit, I've personally have not spent the time to educate myself.
Hopefully we'll do a full episode because it's something that I'm passionate about, the future of money. And because our podcast is a lot about foresight and being an early adopter, I think that will be really relevant for our audience.
Well, I'm looking forward to being the student in that respect.